Many blessings. This is VerDarLuz from Divine Timing Coaching. I hope you are having a beautiful weekend and into Monday and Tuesday. We are headed towards our full moon. So this is going to be the breakdown for all 12 signs of the really powerful, bit chaotic, bit distracting, bit inspiring full moon in Gemini this month. And we're going to look at all 12 signs. We're going to talk about also a few prompts from the Zodiac Shadow Play journal that I've just released that are pertinent to this really powerful full moon. And also just share with you that I do have some Black Friday weekend discounts that are going until Giving Tuesday. So if you'd like to check out your chart and forecast the year ahead, look at locational astrology. That might be up for a lot of us with this full moon. Quite a lot of mobility we're seeking. Human design or ongoing life and business coaching, 33% off right now. So pretty big discount, and I'll put the link in the information below. So let's get into this full moon. There's so much to cover. It's Gemini, right? And we're in Sagittarius season. So this is a time where there is a lot of energy moving in all directions all at once. It's like the Everything Everywhere All at Once movie that came out last year. I'm going to share the screen with you so you can actually see when this full moon is happening here. And we're going to move it. We have a way we can animate the chart as well. But this is about the time it's going to be happening. So it's going to be interesting because Sunday night, Monday night, you're going to really be in the full moon window. And it happens very early morning in the East Coast of the US, right around 3 o'clock. Also, then you're going to see that, early morning hours, Monday. So just feel that Sunday, Monday are really the peak energies for this full moon in Gemini, and it's at 4 degrees. Right? And so the first thing we want to talk about is that a full moon, right, is a time of fulfillment for us, hopefully, in an area of our chart. And that chart has to do with the area where Gemini is this month. And so we want to look to some of the things that we created around the new moon in Gemini, which is around the middle part of June this year. We're looking at that new moon and something coming to fruition in that part of our life. So when we talk about the different signs, different houses that this could be landing in your chart, pay attention again to where the Gemini and Sagittarius axis are, because since it's a full moon, we're really getting amplified from the Sagittarius house and the Gemini house. And those themes were coming up again big in that middle part of June and coming up now. Also, because we do have 3 planets in Sagittarius right now, including the ruler of the full moon, which is Mercury here. Mercury is very active for this full moon. And then Mars is here as a very dynamic force in this full moon because he's opposite the moon with the sun. Now, this Mars and sun are also, if you could see over here, squaring Saturn. And this square to Saturn and Mercury square to Neptune, which is over here, are really the hallmarks of this full moon. But first, what about the moon in Gemini as a general theme? Well, we have always the polarity at play with the full moon. Something is being brought to light around the archetype of the messenger and the communicator, the idea generator. Also, Mercury, of course, was the merchant god, Mercurius, right? And he is the god of trade. So there are themes around business and sharing our ideas, marketing, obviously coming up here. But we may be feeling a lot of visionary possibility without necessarily the ability to pay attention to the details or craft the specific message. We might really want to, but because of Mercury's position in Sagittarius as ruler of the moon, we're in more in the realm of potential, philosophy, inspiration. We might be really wanting to channel or funnel, wisdom traditions and spirituality into our marketing and into our messaging and into our communication. And this can be really magical, but it can also be quite confusing or, it's not linear in any way. And so that's why when we say Mercury is in Sagittarius, he is in his sign of his detriment. He rules Gemini. In Sagittarius, he can't pay attention logically to all the details like he can in Gemini. He's more, contemplative about the meaning of life, right? Or more interested in the synchronicity and the symbolism, which is beautiful, but is not really going to necessarily get a clear message out. So that's important to note with Mercury's position in Sagittarius. We're inspired. We might be really tuning into spiritual teachings during this time. We want the bigger picture, but the details may be hard to grasp. Now, both Gemini and and Sagittarius are mutable signs. There's a lot of mutable energy in the sky. Mutable signs are the signs that change the seasons. So their nature is to evolve, to adapt the element that they're in. They are the natural teachers of the zodiac. So this is a time where we are learning a lot. And we're interested in teaching and learning and communication. This is a very stimulating moon. There's a Mars aspect going on very strong. There's all this mutable energy. We want to be social. And if we can allow the synchronicities and symbols to guide us, this can be a very magical time. But there's so much fire and air, those are masculine signs, that we should expect that there's there's almost like a raging torrent of energy with this. And we're going to have to learn how to funnel that and channel it into something practical. So I kind of have this tagline for this moon, which is, is it scattered distraction or, inspired action? And both extremes are very possible. Even in one moment to the next, we can be feeling ourselves, get very excited and inspired and take action on that. And then the next thing, we could get really into overstimulation and some mental anxiety, mental overwhelm. Now, on the collective level, you've already seen that, and I think this is going to increase, that there's been a lot of protests and riots regarding, the war going on. And I know if you paid attention this last week to what happened in Dublin, it was pretty horrific. There was protests around immigration, and they literally burned, just as Mars and the sun went into Sagittarius, they literally burned, buses, and they destroyed the facades of buildings, and it was pretty hardcore. And so this is where air and fire, like air is feeding the fire, and it could get out of control at times. So we have to watch, being very careful at this time with what we say, how much we say, and be careful with the promises we may be making. We need to also be careful with overextending ourselves. Sagittarius is a sign that it loves to have big promises, big, bold promises. It loves to say yes. And that over-optimism then gets into a challenge where it's like, well, actually, you're not really being truthful here. You're not really being honest. That you can't really fulfill on what you're saying. And even if you have the best intentions, right? And so is there a part of you right now that may have some really great intentions and may be over-promising and not be able to deliver? That's a big question to ask. So then we want to think about also that this is a moon where there's a lot of change going on, because that's the nature of mutable signs. Now, within the change, within mutability, are a lot of possibilities for experimentation, for innovation, for growth, for those divine downloads. And so we can't get too stuck. And I want to read you a prompt from the Zodiac Shadow Play Journal about this theme of control, because this is a moon where, don't try to control too much during this moon, because it's going to frustrate you. So this is from a section about inspired by some psychotherapeutic prompts. And this is a prompt-based journal. So it's to help you write about specific themes. Now, this is about Scorpio energy, but this prompt actually has a lot to do with the idea of control. And that's coming up with this full moon. So do I have an internal part or protector that feels the need to control or dominate situations? To control or dominate situations. So is there a part of me, this is coming from internal family systems, is there a part of me, and then a protective part, that wants to control because maybe it didn't have that control, right? And what might this part be trying to protect or prevent? So if we're trying to, shut ourselves off from the world, then we can really, avoid the magic that could come when we stay open, and we also don't stay too fixed with what we thought we needed to be doing, right? And this is really important during this moon, because this Mercury, really for about 3 or 4 days now, over the whole sort of in the US Thanksgiving weekend, and then also, the weekend and into the beginning of the week, Mercury square Neptune. And, this is, this can be really, really playful and quite fun. It's great if you're an artist or a musician, that you can really download, you can get a lot of beautiful ideas. Neptune rules the archetypes, right? So this is a time where you can recognize patterns, like certain mythologies that may be playing out in your life. You may start to notice that there's a pattern in your dreams, that dreams are speaking to you stronger right now. I had 2 lucid dreams in one night a few nights ago, as this transit was happening. So we have this really kind of, there's like a flavor with this Mercury square Neptune, where we want to allow spirit to guide us. And I want to give you an example of this. So I went, I'm in London, and I was blessed to go to this incredible performance, which was literally very Mercury Neptune. It was Neil Gaiman's film turned into theater, and it was Ocean at the End of the Lane, which is an incredible story, really about the power of imagination and how imagination lives in us and breathes through us, especially as children and preteens, that world is much more real than than the adult world, right? And then the 3D linear realm. And that's what's trying to bleed through right now. And it makes me think of a lot of the fantasy books, novels, but also movies that we watched growing up in the 80s. For me, like one of the best you might want to look at now might be Neverending Story, right? Or a story like The Princess Bride, that have these really, fairy tales are very Mercury Neptune, right? Allegories, right? There's great Sufi allegories, like the Conference of the Birds, or like Khalil Gibran's work, right? So Paulo Coelho's, that's very Mercury Neptune. So maybe you check some of that out this weekend. You might also get really turned on by nostalgic music, 80s, 90s music. And what does that do for you as you consider, your younger selves and your various versions of yourself? That's something that really can be accessed during this Mercury Neptune square. Poetry, any kind of literature and writing can be really, really, you can receive so much medicine from that and understanding, especially again with a moon in Gemini. So I want to share with you this other book again, because this is a time where books can really be speaking to us and through us. It's called The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. And so that day when we went to this incredible Neil Gaiman performance, the theater, we went to the bookstore after, and it's actually it's called Cecil Lane. It's very famous in London, where all these old bookstores and used bookstores are. And we went to this esoteric shop, And in that esoteric shop, one of the first books that jumped out at me was about the Holy Daimon. And it was a book about magic and merging with our higher selves. And the daimon has been something very important to me for my whole life. I've studied it, I've written about it. And this is a kind of transit where the diamond can really try to bleed through. The diamond is our guide, our angel, our messenger being that is sort of with us our whole life, you know. And one of the best ways to access that is through the process of bibliomancy. Bibliomancy is, it was used with the Bible, but it can be used with any book. And it's where you go to your bookshelf and you just let spirit guide you. You ask a question and you pull books off the shelf to answer the questions, right? Like an oracle, like a divination. This is very Mercury Neptune, right? It's not coming through the left brain or the linear mind. It's also Mercury and Sagittarius. Sag is a right brain sign. And so going into a used bookstore, an esoteric store, any kind of bookstore, and asking a question and seeing what answers come, right? Or letting an oracle deck speak to you, or just what book cover draws you, right? And then opening a page and seeing what the message is and taking a bunch of photos and, letting a story unfold through that. And so that was the whole day. And a lot of magic happened. And earlier in the day, we went to another bookstore and this book came to me. And it's a way of actually taking words. The author has taken concepts, sentiments, that as sort of merged words together. And I want to read you one of them that's about this full moon. And it's called Addleworth. As an adjective, Addleworth, unable to settle the question of whether you're doing okay in life. Feeling torn between conflicting value systems and movable goalposts, which make you long for someone to come along and score your progress in discrete and measurable units, points, dollars, friends, followers, or a grade point average, which may not clear up where you're going, but would at least reassure you that you're one step closer to getting there. And so he's combined the word addled and unclear. And this whole book is like this. And it's John Keening, and I really recommend checking him out on YouTube and this book. But for me, it's opened up my love of language again, and books, and I've just gotten so excited recently about different novels, different books that are out, and journals, especially after composing this first journal. So this might be really up for a lot of us, is a way that we can interact with spirit that is more contemplative, more poetic, more just literary in general, but recognize that this Mercury Neptune can bring some confusion to us, and so be aware that things are getting figured out right now, but they're a bit slippery, right? Think of Neptune as the mermaid, the merman, and being flexible is really important. You might not be as articulate as you'd like to be, but you can paint metaphor in a more really beautiful way. There's another really interesting work that you might want to check out, or topic, which is called neuroaesthetics, and there's a book out called Your Brain on Art, which is perfect for this transit, and it's all about the recent studies to find out how much we actually do evolve and grow and learn by having immersive experiences with music and dance and painting, and that this is quite evolutionary for us. And so that could be another work to check out during this time. All right, so I'm going to share with you a bit more about this transit and then talk about the different signs, how they're being affected. The other big thing with this transit is Mars and the Sun squaring Saturn. Now, the Sun is starting to leave the square, but we've been feeling it. And that square, it's always frustrating with Mars or Sun square Saturn. Mars, our desire nature, in this very optimistic, upbeat, positive Sagittarius that wants to make these big, bold promises. But then Saturn's like, reality check. like, you don't have time. Here's the limitation. Here's a contraction in some way, right? It might be environmental, something going on in your physical space. It might be, yeah, it might be financial, right? So this kind of big vision that wants to be realized, Saturn's putting some kind of block there, and it's. I think that there's a kind of chaos going on for some of us right now that is forcing us to, get distracted to the point where we get scattered and frustrated with that and annoyed with that and irritated. And then Saturn come in and is like, look, let's chisel away what is not really serving the long-term return on investment, right? And that's with time, with energy and money. And Saturn wants us to get more practical with our goals with this transit. And that's why I think it's such a great time right now, end of the year, beginning of the next year coming in, to really get strategic. With my coaching clients, we're looking, 6 months ahead, the year out. We're doing planning. I'm going to do a planning class coming up, 2024 forecast and planning month by month, where we just literally structure and strategize. So if you're interested in that, send me a message on, on my website, sign up, and I'll let you know. But it's going to be, I think, very important to get methodical very soon, especially because Mercury will go into Capricorn really in just a few days. And that's where we really need to get accountable for our energy and be more productive with our ideas. And so let the boundaries or limitations that are coming up with Mars, Sun, square Saturn, give a container for all of this inspiration. And know that, I might have wanted to do this and I have this vision, but I might need to say no to a couple things to realize, literally, in form. Saturn loves form, right? In order to realize in form certain other things. And so, what can I say no to so that I can say a deeper yes? What can I delay in terms of gratification now? Because ultimately, the step-by-step steadiness that I'm building will support me, right? And that might be a little, disappointing to the moment now, but it may also be fulfilling in the long term. So scaling back, focusing on what we're committed to, but staying inspired, letting synchronicity guide, creating time to get out of time, right? So it's like structure that time to read the fantasy novel or, the dictionary, whatever it is, do your bibliomancy. Now, when we look at the different signs, this is going to be a little quicker version of this because it's the full moon. So we're looking at the opposite houses. And so I want to highlight that you look at the same axis and think back to June. Think back to, again, the middle 2-3 weeks of June. What was being seeded during that new moon? And if we start off with this chart that's up right here, it's Libra rising, which would also be Aries rising. We can talk about both. Then we're looking at the Gemini Sagittarius natural axis, which is the 3rd and the 9th houses. Okay. And these are the houses that are about ideas and information and communication and language that we're using to perceive the world. So I get the sense that this full moon is just all about, idea generating and sharing. So blogging, vlogging, lots of communication happening. Probably like if you're not doing a training, you should be giving one. Libra and Aries risings. It's also, a time you could be mentally overstimulated, and so getting grounded and staying in your body can be really important during this time. But I wouldn't be surprised if you think about relocating or travel more. I do relocation astrology. That's one of my focus areas, and you might be planning out, something, a trip abroad, a retreat, a conference, and so you can be very strategic about the places that will support you the most with that. And this might be a time to consider that with all this sort of mental and fiery, inspired, even academic and religious type of energy of the ninth house activated as well. So if we look at Scorpio rising, Taurus rising, then the Mars, the Sagittarius stellium here, and the full moon, it's hitting the second and eighth house axis. And what's so significant here is that we're really looking at values and money coming up with this. So are you learning different ways of earning money? Maybe you need to be careful with overspending right now. Black Friday this weekend, be careful to put your money into things that are really supporting, Saturn's over here, maybe your creativity, or your ability to be active in a community, right? And be supported by a community, a certain cause or goal that you're interested in, that that dynamic of this square going on here with Saturn is emphasizing that you really work with other people's resources and your own in really methodical, intelligent ways, and that you are not wasting any resources, time or energy or money, and that you feel like the investments that you're making are really going to give you, again, the return on the time and energy that you're putting in, as well as the money. So intelligent financing, look at year-end financing. What have you spent on this year? What have you earned? What do you want that to be in the next, first quarter, maybe the whole of next year? And really, give yourself the time and space to do that. So that's really for Taurus and Scorpio risings. And then if we move to Sagittarius rising and Gemini rising, those opposite signs, well, then this is very important, because this is a moon that's emphasizing your personality and your relationships, and how you are appearing, especially, Gemini rising, the moon is in your first house. So there might be something around your role as a messenger, a communicator, sharing information with the world, teaching, writing, all of those ways of communicating, marketing as well. And with Sagittarius, being your area of partnership, it could bring up a lot of issues around relationship, and what makes you feel inspired in relationship. And this is true for Sagittarius rising, teaching, exploring, adventuring. Again, maybe there's travel on the horizon, but it's also bringing up relationships in your life and the balance of self and other, and I wonder if this is also about openness in relationship, versus commitment, or committed to openness. That type of thing could be coming up. The freedom themes of Sagittarius. So think about relationship to self and to other, and how those are in harmonious balance at this time. In Capricorn and Cancer, there's that 12th and 6th house theme going on. So hard work, kind of the errands we got to take care of. Capricorn rising, moon is in your 6th. Cancer, moon is in your 12th. 12th house is about the inner worlds. It could be a time of more meditation, more dream work, writing and journaling, retreats, maybe a lot more service, and also being careful with one's health. When there's a full moon in the 6th or 12th house, we either overwork ourselves or we undo ourselves in some way through pushing too hard, or sometimes some mental health issues could be coming up with this. So again, that's why journaling can be so helpful. Doing maybe a little enhanced therapy at this time. More meditation, more inner work, to balance any of that sort of, maybe you have, a lot of details you have to pay attention to, or a lot of tasks every day around this time. Look at the balance of sort of the inner meditational spiritual worlds, and then the the list of all the things we have to take care of. Okay, so if we go to Aquarius rising and Leo rising, then we're the axis of the 5th and the 11th house, where the Gemini Sag moon is happening. Then we're looking at the power of our creativity and our self-expression really wanting to be harnessed during this moon, as well as the service that we're giving to a larger community, friendships, goals, causes, ideals that we have. We're really looking at, my affiliations, my alliances. Maybe there's a new group that you want to join or a meetup that's calling you. It might be something international as well. You might be looking at different ways of sharing your art or music or, any other kind of creative process. It could also be bringing up children. The 5th house is children, and more time with your children, more creative process with your children, just a deeper bond. And that child energy is also your own child, your own creative expression. So looking at community and creativity, very strong there for Aquarius and Leo risings. And with Pisces and Virgo, this is definitely, this moon is going to be activating the 4th house of the home. So are we redecorating? Are we working on the home? Or do we need to move home? Relocation, or 10th house themes of career. Pisces, there's a lot of energy in the career house right now. But the full moon is there for Virgo rising. So it could just be a busier time for you. Are you trying to do too many things? Are you too scattered? Again, given all this mutable energy, what is going to be the path of devotion? And where you are really like clearly channeling your work every day, and allowing, empathy, Pisces, to be guided by disciplined practice, Virgo, and applying that in the home space and in the career realm. So these would be the 6 polarities, again, all being activated, those houses all being activated by the full moon at the 4th degree of Gemini. Any planets you have near there in the 4th degree of mutable signs right now is being really, really hit by this moon. And this week should be a pretty intense week around this, especially the first couple of days. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, really strong with this moon energy. Give it until, later Tuesday, Wednesday, and you'll have the moon in Cancer, and things will start to like clear out in terms of what this was all about. But yeah, there's a lot moving through. Last thing I'll say is that I just noticed again that Venus is on the South Node in Libra, and this is an important time to be social and to be allowing certain kinds of maybe past life relationships to come into your life that, they may be clearing out a theme for you, but they also may be bringing to fruition some kind of artistic revelation, collaboration, something that wants to harmonize, and be brought forth that maybe you couldn't do on your own. So, and it could come through dance, it can come through art, it can come through making music together, or anything like where you share some kind of creative process together. And just sharing, just being social and learning and being curious about the other and sharing your heart. There's something that wants to channel through, and pay attention to the specific people you're meeting at this time. There may be a strong karmic link with them and a gift you can give to yourself, or a clarity you can bring to each other during this very powerful full moon in Gemini. Once again, I'm VerDarLuz from Divine Timing Coaching. If you're interested in the Shadow Play Journal, the link is going to be to Amazon. Just came out this last couple of weeks, and would love to share that with you, as well as a reading for the Black Friday sale. So if you're interested in that, let's connect, and all the best until this next month. December is going to be very potent. We'll see you soon. Take care.